high school bully turns out to be my boss. Yeah, sucks, I know. Her father owns the entire place, but I'm not going to let this ruin my future career. I am not going to let my bully win again.
Hey everyone, I hope you guys are doing great. I'm also devastated right now that I'm on the verge of tears because my life is falling apart and there seems to be no end to it. Today I got my notice period via email, and I lost my mind at the sight of it. I cannot say what my fault is. I have only a month to find myself another job, so I've been telling you everything since the beginning so you can suggest me better. I'm not really lucky in terms of finances, but I'm blessed when it comes to my family, which is so loving and supportive that any obstacle in life does not bother me much. I've been living all by myself, trying to help my family financially through part-time jobs, and I've aced a scholarship after my higher education. My parents are always trying to help me out in every way possible, and I want to return their favor by easing the burden on them through my financial contribution. However, we've managed to keep our savings enough to support us through emergencies. My parents were really happy when I graduated with an above-average GPA from college and celebrated by giving me a decent feast. I was a little guilty about them making efforts to cheer up my life, so I promised myself to get the best job possible. And I was grateful when I got my first offer letter. I could not wait to celebrate it, and as soon as I joined on my first day, all my excitement vanished when I met Flora, 28, female. All my flashbacks hit me hard, and my emotions ran high. You might be wondering why I'm spitting those cuss words against her. Let me describe you from the beginning. Even though it still gives me chills when I remember those times that she and her girl gang used to surround from all sides, pull my hair, throw things at me, and leave stinking stuff or roaches in my locker. They had torn my books, ruined my things, and done pranks that ended up scaring me, humiliating me in public, and just hurting me physically. I still have goosebumps remembering all the horrible experiences that were left behind long ago. I realize that everything I used to claim about being grateful for, I still cannot avoid feeling bad for the terrible things I went through. Flora used to be my high school senior, and not to mention the absolute trouble in my life. She used to be the teacher's pet, so everything turned out to be in her favor. A person like her cannot miss the opportunity to take advantage of such favoritism by not making things unfavorable to the person who is their least favorite. And you guessed it right, it was me, after all. The teachers did nothing, they merely pretended not to notice or were unconcerned with it. I could only tolerate it because my parents were so supportive and loving. Dad has given me the confidence to stand up for myself, complain against them, or just take things into my own hands. Though I was never draining enough to do the latter, I did call out principals and authorities. If that wasn't enough, I also reached out to her father. He was quite the opposite of Flora, and since that day, she has hardly ever troubled me. I did not expect her father to be better than her, but gladly I was wrong about it. I had no idea how I would deal with her. I thought among so many people, maybe I did not have to deal with her nonsense. She was damn toxic, which was contagious and could ruin anything around her. I just hoped that I would stay away from her, minding my own business, but the worst is yet to come. As I was called into the meeting room, our company owner, whom I now recognized as Flora's dad, greeted me and congratulated me on my selection. As I've gone through rigorous rounds of interviews, it wasn't easy to get shortlisted, because it was a reputed company after all, and it'll help me boost a good start to my career and make my CV impressive. I was happy, but still anxious to find Flora sitting beside him, and to my dismay, she had not forgotten me. She still remembered my name. Though I wasn't ready or happy to recall it, I could not pretend that I did not remember, so I just nodded reluctantly. And the bombs dropped, changing my nervousness to fear when Flora's dad informed me that Flora was my boss and would manage the affairs on his behalf. I was shocked to know that. Her dad was the owner of the company, so it was pretty obvious to her, boss around us. My earlier concern about minding my own business by staying away from her was now in vain. Now I could not avoid her even if I wanted to. I have no idea how I'm going to deal with her. She called to meet with her in half an hour, and till then I would be instructed by the manager to get familiar with my work. When I met her, my fears turned out to be more delusions, and it seemed like I was just talking to a very different person who looked like Flora but was not her. After so many years, maybe 5, she actually turned out so differently that it was hard to believe she used to be rude, arrogant, abusive. She might have sensed my hesitation, and to comfort me, she assured me that whatever happened 5 years ago, we were just teenagers back then. There's nothing that I should be afraid of, and I could reach out to her whenever I was in doubt. Although I was genuinely perplexed and could not believe what I was hearing, she made a warm gesture that somehow touched me. Though it was very unusual for me, I was kind of relieved after that meeting. Maybe things have changed, and Flora as well, for the better. I could still focus on my work without worrying if I were not being defensive and trying to save myself from vicious schemes and moves of Flora. Well, she then too turned out to be my delusion because when I was in high school, the bad people were visible and easy to recognize and be aware of, but now in adulthood, it's taught that the danger lurks within friendly faces that you may not recognize, and one wrong move will cost you severely, just like I did by losing my job and reputation for the company. One day, when I was coming back from work, I was doing overtime. I was given a lift by a guy who works in the same building where our company is currently located. There were several of them, just like mine, working in the same building. By talking to him, I found that his company was our competitor. He was really sweet and volunteered to help me after learning that I was a new intern. He laughed and with a sarcastic tone said I would soon get to learn a lot. I was too naive to understand that. He helped me out with most of the stuff that was hard to catch up on in the office, and one day Flora assigned me a task of taking care of the files. They were confidential as they were official documents of the people who have worked on them, and it makes us stand out from the rest of the rival companies. I did not know which of those companies. That day, while coming out from work, I got a text from Ryan, and he volunteered to help me out. After my work, he took me to his office desk. Nervous about the next morning, I asked for help making reports on the files, which were meant to be confidential by Flora. He told me that there was nothing to mistrust about him, and I did not want to risk my job, so I denied sharing details with him, saying I did not break the rules and not willing to take unnecessary risk. Reluctantly, he accepted my decision. But things turned out unexpectedly disastrous. First, the client rejected the report submitted by me, saying that he had seen broad similarities with other communities, and they were giving them to him with better terms and deals. Well, I was shocked, and everybody left the room. Then Flora came up with her own files and submitted her ideas. I was shocked at how she managed to pull off that without anybody's help when the entire team was not able to do it. Is she that brilliant, or to do that by herself? I could not understand. I was called out because I was on CCTV. I was found heading to a different office for work, which was Ryan's, and I accepted it. It had become clear to everybody that I visited the rival company and had leaked the plans and the files to them. In my defense, I told them that I had not shared the details and that Ryan was just simply a friend. I told them that I had not shared the details at all, but it was futile. The rival's competitors discovered. Anyways, none of it mattered because I was given a notice period for going against the company's policies. And I myself am searching for answers. I did not betray for sure, but I got a little careless maybe. I called Ryan, but he didn't answer. Later, I found out that he's blocked me. I tried talking to him, but I would not do that, and he ignored me and refused to recognize me at all. When I tried to speak, I heard rumors that I've been stalking and chasing him because I can't handle a rejection. I made an attempt to contact Flora, but she only offered me consolation and stated that HR had set the rules and she can't alter them. She blamed me for contacting Ryan, but I stayed silent, knowing that nothing could be done. Top comments from the original post. OP, you've dealt with enough of the toxicity and you don't deserve further. It's best for you to leave quietly and deal with your own life without getting bothered by who has done what. Do not get yourself affected by all this. Focus on yourself and live your own life. And do not get carried away by all this revenge drama because you are not in a financially stronger position to risk your life to deal with such an ugly mess. It's a sad truth, but the sooner you accept it, the easier it'll be for you. Update number 1. Guys, thanks for listening and giving suggestions. As you've said, I should have tried to uncover the fact that somebody has framed me under the accusations, and yes, it was easily understood. Looking at Ryan's actions, that he was the one who was involved in it, and being unnoticed, I have not paid any attention to my work, but rather tried to search for evidence. So desperate times call for desperate measures, and this time, I dressed up nicely and stalked Ryan after he left the office until he was totally alone, and I asked him out for a drink. He didn't want to deny it, so he agreed, and I tipped the waiter to bring a drink that would instantly get him high. And I started asking him about how he got those files. He didn't say it clearly. All I could figure out was that when we left to use the restroom, he was too old to click pictures of them. And he fainted after saying that. And his phone started ringing, and I was shocked to find out it was Flora. I did not pick up the phone, but I luckily got access through his thumb impression and unlocked it. I found that there were several messages, and he had texted back to get the job done. And I was shocked and curious at the same time. I was shocked because I did not expect Flora to be involved in such a thing. I was curious why she did this to me. I was disappointed that some people will never change for good. Before I could think further, I got a call from my dad and realized that he told me to attend a dinner at his friend's parents' place, and our family was supposed to be present at the party. As I was already dressed nicely, I left Ryan and reached the venue. I was nervous about the fact that I had to portray my perfect life in the eyes of people, and unfortunately my parents were so excited to introduce me to their acquaintances and friends about my achievements, had to pull off a fake smile because it would not last long. I didn't have the courage to break their hearts by telling them that I've been served a notice period within a month of joining the team. I was so preoccupied with my own shattered state of mind that I failed to notice how my own life had devolved into a string of unfortunate incidences and disappointments. When I excused myself to go to the restroom, trying to follow the directions, I mistakenly took the wrong turn, and I spotted Danish sniffing stuff from a small piece of paper, and the most miserable moments was when his eyes laid upon me while he was doing that. The anger in his eyes gave me goosebumps. I mean, how unlucky can I be to get in trouble one after the other? I stopped believing that nothing would be worse than I was facing now. But it seems like God has taken it as a challenge. Let me introduce you to Danish first. You're well aware that Flora has bullied me in an effort to appease her wrath. As I've previously stated, I landed in another place when I thought that he would help me out. Danish, who was already the son of my dad's friend, befriended me by volunteering to save me from her. That time, being too naive, I fell for him. I was so emotionally attached that I didn't realize that even though I was able to escape from Flora, it was more difficult to save myself from him. I do remember how easily he was able to take advantage of my situation, where I was already a timid and anxious person. He helped me and was always available, and that too according of his own convenience. In return for hiding things for him, because nobody would suspect me, I did not understand why those items were important to him until I discovered them while being used by a group of his friends. I somehow distanced myself from him in return for the promise that I would never disclose his secret if he did not involve me in his mess. It wasn't easy to get rid of him because he was a violent person and had anger issues. I gave him the ultimatum that if I disclosed this to my parents, it would reach his parents as well, and that time it worked. Since that day, I've never found him around me, and in a few weeks I've got to know that he had moved to another state, and for the rest of those 2 years I dealt with Flora all by myself, because that gave me some courage to deal with her as well. That was a good riddance from Danish, until today. I tried running away from the spot, but he caught me and held me. His grip was unusually tight. causing bruises on my arm. Earlier, he used to be just kind of a skinny guy who could hardly use physical strength. All he had was contact to pull strings to get his work done, but now he's much stronger and a full-grown man. He threatened me, but if I dared speak up, I could see what he was capable of, and this time I did not doubt him. So I nodded, and I thought that he would leave, but then he inquired about my life and said that he had heard I had a job, and I hated to admit that in front of him. Knowing about my financial status, he would not let me go easily, so I let him know that I'm actually on a notice period and I'm about to be fired. So I don't have money if he thinks that he could take advantage of me. He gets upset and said that I've always been a useless person. Thankfully, he got a phone call and he left me alone, even for a moment. The day was too much to deal with. Firstly Ryan, then Flora, and now Danish. I have no idea what awaits me next, and I've already dreaded it. All I know is that I have to confront Flora to know what she's doing with Ryan and why she's doing this to me. Update number 2. Hey guys, it's not great news to break to you, but I figured something out because I took chance this time. When I met Flora with the evidence of all the shots of her being involved in the mess with Ryan, her reaction showed it all. She instantly got up and closed the door of her cabin. She said that she wanted to make an impression on her father because his second wife was already pregnant, and that's why she gave me the incorrect files, which had similar plans but were illegal, and had security holes to keep them secret from me and Ryan. So even if Ryan leaks them, it'll still help her to make an impression on her father, who is a damn hard person to impress. That can be done by presenting better plans, I guess. She said that she even tried to give me the desired amount of money to not uncover the evidence. After all, I was too good already and could achieve whatever I wanted, unlike her. She doesn't want the risk of her years of hard work because of a new intern like me, who is way more talented, and I did not like her saying that. For the sake of her impression, she played with my career, and that was not enough justification to exploit me for no reason. Sensing my skepticism towards her and the deal, she further said that I could do whatever I wanted, but since she knew that I knew the truth, she could control the damage beforehand, and it would not affect her as much as it would in my case. I stayed quiet around her because I knew that somewhere Flora was right. Even if I disclosed the truth, nothing much would come of it, so I stayed in the same company. I would have to deal with another backstabbing by Flora, and she would not stop exploiting me for her own good, so either way it was a lose-lose situation for me. I was busy focusing on my pitiful self. Thinking there was no way out of this, I got a call from Ryan. He was furious, saying that I've tried to invade his privacy and threaten Flora. I confronted him, saying that his betrayal was the reason I had to sneak into his phone, and I asked the reason for it. He confessed that he loved Flora and could do anything for her just to get into his life. I could not believe he could be so sick, but then it hit me that the reason he's not already dating Flora is because she's not dating him, and I was shocked at the response I got from him. He said that he would accept his proposal soon. He sounded impossibly hopeful, though. But I would like to know why Flora doesn't want to date him. Before I could think of it, I reached my place, and I found Danish there. My dad was glad to get his friend back, who had mended the ties with him, saying that Danish had changed completely since being admitted to rehab 3 years ago, and now even my parents have started to trust him as well. I didn't want to complicate in the lies that have blinded them. When Mom called me to assist her in the kitchen, she noticed that the bruises on my arm were new. Before I could confess to Mom, Danish made some excuse and reverted back by saying that even he would tell everyone that I was already jobless because I was on my notice period. I got scared, thinking my parents, who were so proud of me, would get shattered just like that, and revealing his truth won't matter to him because they won't believe me, as he was working hard to change his image in the people of their eyes. He was all sophisticated with his mannerisms and yet a beastly violent person behind closed doors. His actions reminded me of Flora, and I thought that he deserved somebody like her. And all of a sudden it seemed like a great idea. But then his phone rang and he left the kitchen to pick it up. This time I tried to eavesdrop on his conversation where I concluded that he needed to pay back money because he was in some kind of debt in his shady business. And I didn't hide away, I pretended to act like he caught me. I offered him a deal that he could bewitch my boss, who was totally his type, and that, being filthy rich, she would happily let him afford the lifestyle that he aspires to have. And I sent him a picture of Flora, and he took a look and said that he would think it over. Update number 3. I hope my plan works out well this time. I've dealt enough with its toxicity, so this time I want to be done with it once and for all. I waited for Danish's call. My notice period was about to end, and I hated the fact that all those people who had tried to take advantage of me were living happily in their lives, and they were merely tricking me. First was the Danish, then Flora, then Ryan, and I want them to taste their own medicine, and it could only be done by them because only poison bites poison. I began with Flora. I tried to be friends with her, and knowing that her stepmother was pregnant, I suggested that she should soon get married and start a family as well. That would help her get a better share of her future, and I arranged a date for her with Danish, who had completely changed himself. He was quite presentable and sophisticated, just like Flora, but toxic from the inside. They were both the best suited for each other. My high school bully turns out to be my boss and gets me fired from her company. So now I set my bully with my drug addict toxic ex to seek revenge upon her. I helped him out to get dressed and book the venue according to Flora's extravagant classic taste. I hoped that this time things would work out for me, and you must be wondering why Flora would agree to date him when she did not accept Ryan's proposal, even though he risked his job for her. Well, let me tell you that some bit of luck was kind of in my favor because Danish, who has turned into this absolute hunk, would easily swoon Flora, and either way, I convinced her that if she would date such a dashing guy, she could also jealous her female friends as well. And her dad would also agree with their marriage. Looking at the manners and sophistication that he carries, anybody would be fooled into believing that Danish is such an ideal guy before they get themselves facing his violent side. I can bet that I did the best thing to hook them up with each other, because they would not have agreed to trap each other for their own good. I also got their text messages as proof of my claim, as they believe me to be their common friend. Danish said that he could not wait to get married after knowing that she's filthy rich, blissfully unaware by her real face that she's a toxic, manipulative person who can do great things only to achieve what she aspires. Danish had already started playing dirty, as he had already made her pregnant. If by any chance she would deny marrying him, he could always use that as an excuse to get her committed to him. And Flora, who texted me that she could not wait to get married to him either. After all, he's sweet, a patient guy, blinded by the fact that he was a violent drug junkie who was recently just escaped from rehab, and recently carries himself nicely so people would never doubt him. She informed me that she hid her pregnancy from him because if he ever refused to marry her, she could claim her pregnancy to keep him in her life. And there's me, who can't wait to see them get married and make each other's lives a living hell. And this time it would be a win-win situation because both delusions of each other would bear the truth and the repercussions of each other's toxicity. When I was about to leave, there was one last thing that was left to deal with. Ryan. I haven't thought about how I'm supposed to deal with him, though. Update number 4. Hey guys, I believe this is the last update, but it turned out to be really unexpected. I came up with a plan to deal with Ryan, so here it goes. When the Flora and Danish engagement dates were decided, I showed the invites to Ryan, saying that the person for whom he had risked his job had left him already and moved on in her life. He was just a fool and has been taken advantage of. He was furious. It was great to fuel his grudges against Flora, and he stormed into the office and revealed that Flora had ordered him to steal the confidential files that were fake because she wanted to make an impression on her dad and make me look like a traitor. But it was him who had stolen those files. She was never the brilliant one. She only tried to portray herself like that by stealing all the credit. Flora promised to date him and commit to him in a relationship, but Ryan claimed that she cheated on him, but she never called back, and this time I took my stand in front of her dad and confirmed his claims by saying that Flora was getting married because his second wife was pregnant, and she wanted me kicked out because of her impression of him, and she already saw me as her competition who could take over her position. Her dad was truly disappointed in her, and I could not keep the secret fact that she married Danish, only to claim a greater share of his inheritance than that of her stepmother. This was the limit for her dad after learning the truth. He canceled my notice period and made me a permanent employee because he was too embarrassed on behalf of Flora, who had tried to take advantage, and he fired her from her job. Final update. Hey guys, this is my last update. I just wanted to say a few things. So let me go ahead and wrap everything up that I've left in the middle of, because, good things take time. So does my revenge to bring out their true colors. It's been more than a year since they were married. Flora, who likes to be demanding and dominating, and Danish, who hates to take orders or making each other's lives difficult. Flora, who uses manipulation through emotional and financial means, is sometimes abusive, and Danish, who hate taking orders and wanted to retaliate through violence. Knowing he was dealing with Flora, started doing drugs more often, cheating on her, breaking all the rules, and acting beastly in the name of love. Flora keeps him under control through his addiction, and I'm happily taking my job away from Flora and her contagious work environment. I'm only responsible for what her dad says, and Ryan was fired from his own job and denied another because of his spoiled reputation.
So it looks like Ryan was fired for his spoiled reputation, and now he can't find any work. I want to know what you guys thought about this story, and how OP went ahead to set up her bully and her ex, who she equally hates, to make their life a living heck. I want to know your thoughts on this, guys. Please drop your comments down below in the comment section. My name's Mr. Reddito. I narrate stories every single day. Sometimes it involves dramas like today, sometimes it's mother-in-law stories, sometimes it's Karen and the Wild stories. You never know what we're going to get here on Mr. Reddito. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. The best way to support the channel is super easy. All you have to do is subscribe. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And just remember, it's cool to be kind. Peace.